Okay, this is the second episode of my mock TSM coaching series. This one's going to be a little bit more analysis based. I'm not going to repeat anything about what I'm doing this for. That's what the last episode. Um, I'm not going to be role playing as I'm talking to the characters. It's just kind of analysis based between me and you, the viewer. Um, this is the second game from the first game I did where they lose to Immortals. I went in looking for why they lost, any big reasons why they lost, and there aren't many. It's For the most part, they played this game all right. I would say like average to above average. Immortals is a fine team, and TSM also played fine. There were some mistakes that I found, and we'll go through those. But at the same time, I saw a couple interviews after this game. I watched this live, and I watched their TSM's in-house series that they do, and they pretty much blamed the entire game off of a bad TP by Hanser and Bjergsen playing Galio, and I don't agree with that, and hopefully their coaching staff doesn't agree with that also. Yeah, there were some hiccups with how the team fights with Bjergsen on a tank slash not a carry. That's very obvious in some of these team fights. I'll go over it slightly, but I'm not a player coach or a team fight coach. I'll be able to show you how the team does not properly read tempo, still plays very reactive. I think that's going to be a theme with almost every episode. This is a very reactive team, and they're almost incapable of playing for the next 3 minutes, and possibly incapable of reading all the information on the map. I'm thinking it's due to the players not contributing the information to the consensus of what the playmaker should be. I don't believe there should be one shot caller, playmaker, whatever. It should be information coming from everyone's zone of awareness coming into whoever can determine the call can be used. So if everyone's inputting information in the first 10 minutes of the game, it's most likely going to be Svenskeren saying, okay, we can use that, or someone saying, we have to use this now, and Svenskeren saying, okay. Um, it's hard to see a lot of those examples in the first 10 minutes without hearing comms, but after tier 1 phase, you can see the comms. It's very easy to see that, and you're actively able to see that TSM does not properly read what they're able to do. Um, and again, I think it's due to a lack of information feed and not really having a clear cut plan for the next few minutes. And when you're playing reactive, that's going to show. It's going to show that you're not doing things responsibly or timely, or that the objectives that you are doing are more reactive, like in the moment, there's an opening here, let's take it. And that's kind of the theme for this team. Um, I'm just going through the pick and ban while I watch. I wasn't going to talk about the pick and ban at all. Um, I'm going to skip through the timestamps. I'll make it pretty quick. As I'm skipping, it's easiest just to watch the map, and I will go through a couple of the team fights. So the laning phase is pretty normal. Um, yeah, nothing significant about the laning phase. It was pretty even. The whole game was pretty even, so there's no point in me showing any of this. Sure, they could have stretched something more or made more of what they accomplished with these ganks. But I really want to focus on what I saw the players say in the interviews, especially Bjergsen. There's going to be a teleport play at 12 minutes where Hanser made a pretty big mistake. You don't even have to hear comms or know exactly what happened or what he was thinking. It's straight up just a mistake. There's no denying it, and he wouldn't deny it afterwards. But to have that carry over after the game when you're still even the next 20 minutes after that play is a very bad mentality for a player to upkeep throughout a whole match. So here it is. I'll try to get the play out of the way so you guys can see it. It's just the general crashing wave. Bot lane has pressure. They're trying to chip down the tower and get first tower gold. TSM's idea, this is what's probably being said in the comms, is let's get the first jump on them before this next crash. Here's the team fight going pretty normal. Right here is where you see the Flame TP in. Haunter has his TP. Flame would have to cancel his and cancel Haunter's, so it'd be an even TP. There's good wards for Haunter to go onto, and Haunter has his ult available. What you're going to see is Haunter ult on top of Renekton. I don't know if the replay shows this, but I'll just go over it here. Haunter just tried to get damage onto Renekton. This is a blatant mistake, and there's no point of going into this deeply because he's going to know it, and he's going to know it heavily, you know? So this whole play is thwarted and going to go in the way of Immortals. I'll let you see the whole thing. But even after the fact, first tower gold, not too much of a lead. All right. So yeah, if you wanted to go more deeply into this, it again would be more of a team fight perspective, player coaching. They would go into that. That's not what my specialty is. My specialty would be how to properly communicate and navigate the map. And TSM was doing it fine, and the execution was bad on a player scenario. So this is going to be a reset, pretty even tempo. That's what's going on in the game during this replay. Reset, pretty even tempo. Still early in the game. You can't get too much from the tempo yet. So the common practice of a reactive team is to spread your wards across the map, and that's what you're seeing from the movement of Svenskeren and Bio. TSM does have the means to fight this dragon. Haunter has the TP still that he saved. But what I really wanted to see is if Bjergsen could have the upkeep of being salty about the bad play from Haunter, if it's carrying over into the comms right now with a fresh reset and both teams have an even tempo, that's just corrupting the comms that they could use to get back into this game. But they don't even have to get back into the game. It's not that kind of sense. If that's going on in the comms, that needs to be stopped immediately. They're still on an even footing. There is no tempo advantage, etc. Okay, so the ideal time to use the TP and just go on the jump for Dragon would be right now. Doublelift had his push bottom. They're clearing wards. They have the TP. If they do it early enough, Renekton can't get the top tower for the objective trade. But you can tell there's no big objective. They're looking for picks. You know, with the positioning that Bjergsen's in, waiting above him's pinked. The comms have to be open-ended, which they shouldn't be. There always needs to be an objective for the next 3 minutes. I believe this dragon started because Gragas showed himself on this ward right here. But he also, I could go back and show you, but you, I don't need to. You can trust me. You can go back and proof me. 1446, Gragas did the exact same thing back when I said the ideal time to start the dragon. Gragas showed himself at this exact place where Necton had gone B. Haunter had a better push top. Um, they're just not executing properly. If this was their plan at the 14-minute reset, they didn't execute it properly. And if it's not executed properly, it leads me to further believe that it's a very reactionary team. They're sticking to their theme of being reactionary. But at the same time, you keep seeing me talk about these things that are happening on the map where, and I'm doing a replay on a game TSM lost. They didn't play it severely poorly. It was an even-footed game, and these aren't hugely bad calls. I'm semi grasping at straws to why they lost the game, but the later plays are going to show you a bit further why. The theme I'm saying right now, where they're playing reactive, you're not really seeing consequences to it yet because it's still laning phase. The team that has the tempo isn't able to push the tempo as much in a tier 1 phase. So you're not seeing the consequences to what I'm saying. As the time goes on, tier 1s start to fall, you will start to see these consequences of a team that plays reactive. And it's also important to note, so you're seeing, I just talked about their dragon, how it was poorly executed. That's an efficiency argument. You know, you should always look for efficiency arguments rather than going for the pure blatant misplay, misjudge, like the Haunter play. So that one was blatant, you know, easy to review, easy to fix, easy to remember. Um, that's not going to be a huge bottleneck to why you lost the game. That will be a good thing for that player to learn and the team as players to learn about each other's playstyle, whatever. But the reactionary hive mind of this team is what needs to change for them to be a competitive team on the world stage. And it's hard for a player to see that. It has to be the coaching staff that sees that. And the fixes would be just repetitive examples of like, it looks like you guys had the right idea, or if you could hear in their comms like they had the right idea, but they just mistimed it, didn't account for some resources that one of the players didn't provide, uh, so forth from there. The next 2 minutes is a fresh reset from both teams. Still kind of even tempo. Tempo again being which team can uh, pressure a lead, pressure some information that they have, pressure a winning lane, so forth. The next 2 minutes are just pressuring topside, getting wards out. What you could assume from the comments from TSM is they want to get Herald eventually, possibly some mid tower chip or some picks top lane. But what could, so I was assuming TSM was going to do this, and I think I assumed wrong and they just stumbled into it. But these next 2 minutes, they are going to place their wards topside, red topside. So around here, got this handy tool. TSM's going to place their wards around here. Just push these waves a little bit. You're not going to see a great effort for getting picks, but it's going to look deliberate that there was an effort to reset after they got that vision. Now, resetting after they got that vision means you have to predict. Let me see if I can change colors. You have to predict what the enemy's going to do. So Dragon's gone. What's the enemy going to do on a reset if you give them tempo? They're going to go the same thing you just did. Clear your wards, pressure your towers. Most likely this area of the map. So, and that's exactly what IMT does at the 18-minute mark. And you're going to see a TSM jump on that. Now, if TSM premeditated that at this point of the game when they're putting wards out, that's beautiful. That's exactly what a high caliber worlds team should do. Um, I'll go into the evidence of why I think they may have stumbled into it. Again, I can't perfectly know because I just can't hear the comms, you know? I have to kind of judge by how they move, how they ward, um, how they jump on the plays. But of any play this game, this one seemed the most premeditated, and they should be patted on the back for this. This should be repeated. They need to know that this would be a good play, a good attempt at a play. Skipping through again, they're just warding top side, red side. And it didn't look like it was for anything because you would see more numbers up there if it was for something, for Herald, for Towers. You would see more numbers up there. Here's the reset for 18 minutes, giving the tempo for IMT. And TSM saw them. They know they're pushing full health, full mana, just came back from their reset. They had a partial reset. It wasn't a big reset. They're pinging these top ward up here because that's the one Haunter's going to TP to. Now, what I question is if TSM telegraphed it, because they could have shown more numbers mid. Lee Sin could have shown the river where Olay and Xmithy just walked through, so of course they're going to ward. They're two champions with plenty of wards, fresh off a reset. If Lee Sin showed there, there'd probably be more movement towards actually pressuring the tower, and you have a tighter team fight for the Haunter teleport being a fight around here. What you're going to see is the fight being around here because TSM jumped the gun. It could have been an intentional jump the gun. I'm not saying jump the gun and as in they made a bad play. It could be exactly what they wanted to do. Okay, now seeing this for a third time, I think TSM really did telegraph what they wanted to do, and they could have done it a lot more efficiently. You're going to see Galio walk through a ward soon. Yeah, Galio, or man, it's just hard to tell without comms. I shouldn't predict this hard. This would be where a team fight coach, player coach comes in because this was an all right shot at a play. You know, 5-4 TSM's favor. Sven is low, but he can always support in some way, use his low health as a resource, someone trying to take him out. What you see here, I'm just taking my shot at being a player coach, team fight coach, semi-mechanic coach. Though Bjergsen's low on mana, so is Pobelter soon. Pobelter does get a good stun right here. Or he already got it. Yeah, he already got it. But I feel like they could have done more. It's still just reaching for straws. But that was an okay attempt. It seemed pretty premeditated. One of the first that I've seen from this team this season, though it's only been 2 games. Or it's been 4 games, but these are the 2 losses. All right. During this replay, I think it's a reset from both teams. And it's still slightly the same tempo. Tier 1 phase. Still tier 1 phase. We weren't able to see the exact. Okay. We weren't able to see the exact, but. Oh, okay. I saw this at some point. I'm not going to go back. After that fight at Herald, where both teams just backed out, just a 1 trade for TSM. IMT pushed mid. Galio used the TP to defend mid, and that gave TSM the tempo. TSM the tempo to grab Herald right before Herald despawned. This next play, after seeing that last premeditated play from TSM, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt as they're a team that can responsibly find plays, gather information 2, 3 minutes before time, and roll with it, either predicting the enemy or making their own progressive play. They get Herald. Dragon's coming up soon. I assumed that they had a great idea of using Herald as the 5-man um, dragon with Renekton, using Herald top lane with Renekton being top lane, having to deal with that, and getting a free Infernal Dragon. At first, I made the mistake and I thought Galio had Herald, and that would have been beautiful because Galio can get there a lot quicker than Lee Sin. So I made it on Dragon. Everyone's fresh on the reset. Haunter's going to make the mistake of going back uh, pre 30 seconds on Dragon, giving him 20 seconds to get the Dragon. Not enough time. Lee Sin's going to be top lane to use Herald. I made the mistake of thinking Galio, Bjergsen had Herald. That would have been great because then at this point, Bio and Lee Sin could have been getting the premeditated wards at Dragon, which isn't the case. So with the wards being here, Haunter going back too early, Lee Sin having to use Herald top, Galio still being top, it doesn't look like it was a premeditated play. The premeditated play was at around 2020. They could have called, they had the information to do so and the means to do so, they just didn't see it. They had Herald, both TPs down, they had pressure top, they could have put Herald there and gotten Galio 2 Dragon. Lee Sin has the Herald. That's the usual thing. They probably are just following the norms of giving it to the jungler. Um, but Haunter going back also. They didn't have a premeditated play. Unless he just severely misjudged the time. And it's not severely 10 seconds misjudge on getting there on time. It's just, it isn't to the caliber they think of themselves to be or where they want themselves to be. And it's the chess game of it they don't have. They're good players. They beat teams because they are good players, and they know that. It's their chess game that's off, their information feed, and gathering that to create a responsible play. So, again, they're reactive, trying to be the second mover on Dragon. They don't get it, but in this reaction, they get to have mid advantage. So they get mid tier 1. So going on with the reactive play, we have Herald top, we got mid tier 1. Hey, let's go get red buff. They're just trying to chain a couple objectives. But what they're failing to see is that there's 5 grouped soon, or they're pretty close with Renekton being within like 5 to 10 seconds and Haunter being nowhere near. TSM's backing off because they recognize it's going to be a 5v4. Haunter's probably chanting, get out, get out, get out. Now, up until this point, this was the majority of what I wanted to go through. The TSM wasn't losing by a huge factor. They were just barely not getting by on what they wanted to do. And that's usually the case for a team that plays reactive to a team that's not that bad. Immortals aren't that bad. Worlds teams are very good. Worlds teams will run over them like they do every year. And it's because they're not fixing things like this. And this isn't just for TSM, it's for every team in NALCS, is they try to go with the quick and easy fix of, oh, this player's not doing so well. So if Haunter didn't have the reputation that he does, and it was some other player, let's say like Lorlo or something, you'd probably see a swap, like boom, swap. But that's not the way to fix the bottlenecks of the team. The bottlenecks are the main reason they're not the most competitive. And I'm thinking that the main reason is TSM's inability to make plays responsibly. And I'm not able to know all the evidence to it, but it seems like they don't have the right information being fed from their laners, and jungle. They're not gathering that information to make a coherent play responsibly being in a timely manner or well set up preemptively, being setting up wards or a counter play somewhere. But if I'm able to think that there are premeditated plays and there are some setup to they wanted this to happen a minute before, 2 minutes before, maybe they're learning this and we'll see it get better as the season goes on. And that's great. And it'll be also great if I can actively see it and add to their progression. That's exactly what I would want to do with these videos. So this is the end of like my mock TSM. You could stop watching here. I'm just going to watch the rest of the video and I'll just talk, kind of commentate with it. I did watch right after this and they got more pressure, got an extra kill, and they attempted Baron, and then they got stopped. Immortals attempted Baron, and they stopped it, which kind of evened out the tempo. I think if Immortals would have went back, they would have had the tempo to do something like one of the tier 1 towers, get wards for one of the tier 1 towers. Instead, they kind of threw off their tempo. This is usual for an NALCS team, not noticing how strong tempo is as a competitive advantage. Something was definitely off this game. If things like that can happen, where you got them freaking out up top, like, oh, we're not 5v4, in the moment, not knowing that they're not 5v5, something's just really off. I think it's easy to, not easy, it's safe to presume that it's within the communication of the team. And again, with hearing the interview afterwards with Bjergsen saying, maybe if our TPs were better, there was only one bad TP, The other one was purely premeditated. Bjergsen started the fight underneath Baron at the same time as Hanser's TP. It was the only ward he had set up to do the TP. So to come out of the game saying if our TPs were better, that was just Bjergsen being butthurt for that one play where Hanser ulted Flame on his TP. And yeah, that was a mistake, but you can't dwell on it and completely throw a game over it. It's crybaby shit. I wouldn't say crybaby shit to a player in the moment or at all, ever. I would constructively let him know that that is not the way to keep your mentality after a mistake was made by a teammate. That's pretentious. You can't be a teammate and be pretentious. This is the usual case for two teams that had the same tempo, with one being thinking they're a little bit behind. I'm sure TSM is thinking they're a bit behind. But the usual biggle around tier 1 towers or whatever objective is up. This would have been a very different post 5 minutes if Immortals did grab their tempo and set up for something. Now it's just an even footing of people going back and forth, clearing boards, trying to get a pick, forcing fights. You don't have to force fights when you're on, force irresponsible fights when you have tempo. You get to choose what you want the enemy to do. Either react to your pressure or try to counter it. If you have tempo and it's responsible, the other team can't counter it as well. Like, sure, they can get an objective trade, but it's just a force fight that turned into a collapse. Again, during the replay, you get to see the good reset, and it's probably a reset in favor of IMT, where they get to bring the tempo towards Dragon and force TSM to come there, because TSM can't counter the pressure with a team that has the tempo. I'm just seeing what's up with this TP, or you don't really get to see. I guess he was just buying, because he bought something. No, he didn't buy anything. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't just use the ult from top. The replay stopped us from seeing that. I didn't watch this before, but still, like, even footing. It's crazy to me that you can come out of the game saying TPs were bad from a teammate if you had even footing for the next 25 minutes. All right, so because it took TSM a little bit longer to get that kill and get an objective afterwards, Immortals could have the tempo to pressure. Up until there, it was weird tempo usage from Immortals. It was 131 into 410, and then topside collapse. All right, we're good here. Gonna end the video. Thank you for watching. Please, any feedback at the bottom. And I should be doing these at least once or twice a week. Thanks.